Every country, before you visit it or before you live in it, it's completely different than what you expect. People have these misconceptions and ideas of Dubai, but unless you actually visit and unless you actually live there, you don't really know any place in the world.
You could say like it's a city without, that sort of long history. Some people think it's like something to criticize about a lot, but what do you do? It was just desert here. Like how you can't expect to have like some, like you gotta build something,
In Dubai, there's like 3.5 million people. There are lots of different types of people. Like, of course, there are the more luxury style, materialistic people, but then there are very religious people, then there are hipsters, and then there's hippies, and
every country you go to, you can find a narcissism from your next door neighbor. Like it doesn't require for you to have a Ferrari or a cool place or watch or something to be narcissistic or to be a bad, let's say a bad person.
People also say it's like only, skyscrapers and stuff, but there's actually lots of nature everywhere, but it's called desert.
Eventually I figured out that the entire team, Khabib, was there, like eating in that restaurant. Like I was just mind blown. I was like a proper, like a fan moment. I couldn't really contain myself.
Dubai is one of these places where I'm like genuinely impressed, like how this can be even possible.
So I'm sure a lot of people have noticed from our posts and videos even that we are spending a lot of time in Dubai, and there's a good explanation for that because we're actually living here. We are residents in Dubai. We moved here like 2 years ago. Actually, it was 2020 in the winter. We came first here just to check it out, like if this was a place where we could stay, and we were like, yeah, this is a good place. It became pretty evident, and then 2021 we moved here for now permanently and been staying here ever since. And I think it's just to give like people a bit of idea like what it's really like to be here, because people have so many prejudices and ideas about it. Some
misconceptions.
Misconceptions. Like some are like completely like worship Dubai, like yeah, let's go to Dubai, and some are more like doubtful and what is this, like just skyscrapers and this luxury life and millionaires and even before I came here, I was not even that interested. I was like, okay, let's go check it out. But I also felt like it's just kind of this more like superficial world of, I don't know, money and luxury, and I wasn't interested really in that much to it. But the reality here is quite different. There is that side as well, but it's also a country that's just unbelievably like, how do I say, like organized and functional and easy to live, and with so many possibilities, like so many people come here. It's unbelievable. Like we talk about with Samuli, like we have UFC champions, boxing champions, celebrities coming here to the very close gym where we are going, and of course there's other aspects as well. Just the safety here, the ease of living, and just it has been an amazing, really great experience here for the past 2 years. So
yeah, actually, Dubai is one of these, because I've been to around 40 countries. Eero has been to over 30, I think. So what I would say is that every country, before you visit it or before you live in it, it's completely different than what you expect. Like almost every place. Only if it's like it's next door neighbor, maybe then you can expect it. But most of the countries you will visit or live in will be very different from your first impression from the outside. Like I remember when I moved to China, it was like completely different from my expectations. Like I was expecting the Chinese buildings and stuff, temples and stuff like this, and these were nowhere to be found. Like, of course, you could find a few here and there, but it was mostly just skyscrapers, very developed technology, very developed society, perfect subway. Everything was like high tech, and it wasn't traditional at all. Like it was very hard to find good kung fu or qigong in China and so on. So China, I used to, because I lived there for 1 year studying Chinese, it was like completely the opposite of my expectations. And many other places have been like this, even USA for the most part, when I visited a few times in Miami and Florida and other cities. And Dubai is the same, like people have these misconceptions and ideas of Dubai, but unless you actually visit and unless you actually live there, you don't really know any place in the world. Like you have to, even I would say you have to live at least 1 month to get like some good idea of the place, and after 1 year you start to adapt to the place and you get even better idea. But like Eero said, like Dubai is one of these places where I'm like genuinely like surprised of how, like I'm like impressed like how this can be even possible. Like I see buildings, I see these drone shows, and I see this stuff that I like you cannot see anywhere else. Like it's like, and it's progressing so fast, it's evolving so fast, the whole city, it's growing so fast that it's like, it's unbelievable what is happening. Like you see things like this shouldn't, like how is this even possible? Like it's like only one of the only cities where it's like, wow, like how is this, you look the development and it's like, wow, how is this even possible? And I think that's why Dubai gets lots of hate. Of course, maybe there's some, I don't know, but because it's just moving so fast.
Yeah, faster, and like even where I live and even Samuli close there, you can see like these buildings that it really literally is like they popped up. It's like insane. Like there's and people are here like, oh, I got a good view, and then suddenly just there's like this skyscraper coming and ruining that as well. But like that's why the development is crazy. And to be honest, like every place, like every single country has, you know, its good sides and it has bad sides. You know, there's the pros and the cons. And some people, you know, they say like there's no like history here in some sense. And I agree with that to an extent, like because if you go to, for example, Finland, where we are from, like you go to the capital city, all the buildings are like historic, or most of them in the center area. Like they're really like this old style. And I like that. Like I feel it's great atmosphere. But here you can find like some small, almost like this museum like areas, like kind of like only like for the tourist, small tourist area. And there are like traditional buildings or maybe some castle here or there. But most of the stuff where people live here, it is, you know, it really has been, you know, it's like 20, 30 years old, 10, you know, sometimes even much less, 10 or 5 years old. So it feels like it's some, you know, you could say like it's a city without, you know, that sort of long history. But I don't know, like it doesn't necessarily have to have the place. Like some people think it's like something to criticize about it a lot, but what do? It was just desert here. Like how you can't expect to have like some, like you gotta build something, you know. I mean, this will be history after 100 years. Then it's like more historic, I suppose. But it's like a different brand that they built. It is this kind of futuristic city. I always think of when I see the view, for example, my building, it's like Star Wars, and I think it's cool. It's in its own way. They built this kind of mythical place.
And the crazy thing in a good way is that they have built so many things so convenient and so good for the society and for the people who live in the whole city. And like you said, is that in Dubai there's like 3.5 million people. There are lots of different types of people. Like, of course, there are these more luxury style, materialistic people.
Yeah.
But then there are very religious people. Then there are hipsters, and then there's hippies, and like all. Like you cannot really generalize any city in the world, because let's say, if I believed everything I heard about, for example, Los Angeles, I would just think it's the most vain Hollywood style city with, you know, homeless problems and lots of safety concerns and stuff. So, but of course I know, because I've traveled a lot, that I should never judge a city before I live there, and if I find it, if it's good for me or not. And I also should understand that every city has different subcultures and lots of different people, and it's all about, you know, finding your own subculture and your own people.
It is like, that's what it's like. What kind of group are you hanging with? Because like there was a comment, someone said like, well, there's so much like narcissism and plasticity or something like this. And for sure, like that's, you know, even maybe part of the branding here is this luxury stuff, but it's every country you go to, you can find a narcissism from your next door neighbor. Like it doesn't require for you to have a Ferrari or a cool place or watch or something to be narcissistic or to be a bad, let's say a bad person. Like this is not something that you will find here, like some douchebags around the corner. Actually, the most people, what I've been most actually surprised about, especially, this goes to the service people here. Like one of the most polite service people we've ever met in any country are here. Like people, of course,
and not just service people, but everyone.
But actually everyone.
Like everyone is polite, everyone is kind, everyone is very nice, and like it's just everyone is happy to be here. Like when I go for Helsinki, where we're from, like when you go some cafe, you see the workers, like baristas, they don't want to be there. They don't want to work there sometimes. Of course, sometimes they do, but they like, it's like, why, what I'm doing with my life, why I'm here. But in Dubai, everyone you meet is like, no matter what class or standard, everyone seems to be very happy to be here because they're just happy with the opportunity. And the good thing about the city is that everything is just so convenient and so easy. Like everything from bureaucracy and living and services and everything is just made as easy as possible.
Yeah, and what I start to think, like, these people here, like they bring maybe certain like ambition. Like there's a lot of people who they want to like kind of make something out of themselves and they want to grow. And some people are very like, what is the word, like flamboyant, or I'm not sure, but they're like showing, but that's part of the culture here also, is that some people, because you could think like, well, these are some self-centered people who are showing off their things, but in this culture, for example, it's not judged. Like if you like here, if you have a nice car, it's like you're one among many. If in our country, Finland, you show a nice car and a bit of like some nice stuff, and people are really like frowning upon it. It's like
it's like it's good and bad. Like in Finland, it's like if you have a really nice car, you get lots of attention. In Dubai, you get nothing. Yeah. And in Dubai, in Finland, you also get bad attention because you get lots of haters and you get lots of envious people. But in Dubai, nobody cares.
Yeah, like we sometimes talk like in the entrepreneurship, even in Finland. Well, of course, there's different views, but it's not such like a popular thing like here. If you really try to make something out of yourself, people are like, yes, good. But if you're too confident, like when we started VAHVA Fitness in Finland, they told us, like the government officials told us directly that we were too overconfident. Like we didn't get any benefit for starting the business. But that was the crazy thing. Like you could be like too overconfident there, but here it's like a different thing. So people are like, of course, become more like the culture that you kind of live in, I suppose. But it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing, or people will be like behave or treat you badly, or something like this. I don't think it relates to that so much.
And I think during Corona, because there was no restrictions, or there were restrictions but no lockdowns, this city became very popular among like all kinds of people, and now it's one of the most popular tourism attractions and so on. But like this city attracts so high quality people nowadays. Like the level of MMA is very high here. Like you see, like Eero said, you see lots of like UFC champions in the local gym, like many UFC fighters. You see lots of these world champion boxers from England and Europe, and like this. And even like we go to a restaurant and you can see Habib Nurmagomedov having.
Yeah, I have a story from that. Like I went to a local restaurant here and I spot there's this like Dagestani looking guy with a Gucci bag, and I'm like, that guy looks familiar. And then I just see like behind the door, like that's the Belal Muhammad, like that's a UFC fighter. Like this can't be a coincidence. And eventually I figured out that the entire team, Khabib, was there, like eating in that restaurant. Like I was just mind blown. I was like a proper like a fan moment. I couldn't really contain myself, but it was a nice experience. I met with the team. I met with Javier, the AKA top coach, and so. But just as an example, like you can like bump into these kind of people here, and you find people who are really like professionals in what they're doing, who want to take their life somewhere, who want to build something and make something out of their lives. I think that's a great...
And not just about themselves, but they want to make a difference in the world as well. Like they want to change stuff. Like, they have like visionaries and stuff. Like it's not just always about themselves.
Of course, but yeah, like, and that's another thing. Like here,
and people also say it's like only skyscrapers and stuff, but there's actually lots of nature everywhere. But it's called desert, and there's different kind. What's surprising is that there are actually many different kinds of deserts. Like they are different with different kind of sand, different kind of mountains, different kind of everything. Like people will think like desert is just like empty sand and it's always the same, but it's actually, there are many different kind of wildlife and deserts here in UAE, and you just need to, and it's not even far away, like 1 hour away you can drive and you can find lots of animals, wild animals like deer and all of these camels and stuff.
Yeah, true. That was an important part for me because for sure, like the biggest minuses were like, well, the summer is super hot and there's not much like green nature, but you have like these different ecosystems, like desert ecosystems. Like you said, that they can differ a lot from one desert to another. Like even the animals and the plants, there are plants there, and the mountains are like amazing here, like super majestic, cool, like this kind of moon-like surfaces or landscapes. So you can find also that here. Of course, it's not the same as a forest, but it's still, I think, very impressive nature, and I really loved it. It's one of my favorite things here, just to spend time there.
I would say, like, actually, any city life anywhere in the world is actually not the best thing for your health. Like all this traffic, all these lights, all this thing, it's like you have to sacrifice something. Like if I would pick like the most healthiest and the most peaceful way to live life, it would be some like countryside, some very fresh air and fresh nature and so on. But there's no opportunities in this forest or like this. So it's always like city is not actually the most natural way to live life in any city, not just Dubai, but in London or like Miami or even like Helsinki. It's like any city comes with some problems, but it also comes with lots of positive sides and opportunities. So you kind of have to sometimes, at least in our position, we have to sacrifice something for the other things.
Yeah, because that's what I many times think, because I would maybe like to sometimes have like more, I like the countryside feeling. I come from quite a small town in Finland, and it's like a silent place, and I always had like a forest on the backyard and everything like that. So that is kind of where I grew up, and in some ways I like that kind of atmosphere. But you need to like realize also, make, like you said, like you need to open up the world, and if you stay in that kind of zone, you necessarily, it doesn't mean that you can never live there. Maybe at some point in the future, like have a peaceful place somewhere. But at least at this point in life, it's a good place to live here now, when still like, we are kind of trying to like make a lot of changes, like make these big changes and
establish our message and make a difference, and also like pursue like MMA and stuff. Like if you really want to like do something with your life, you have to go where everything is. And right now we cannot really find like a better place.
Exactly.
Yeah, for all of these things.